Welcome, everybody, to the Wrestling Informer. We are back once again. It is a Friday, and we are going to give you 3 stories that are going on in the world of wrestling. Of course, you could subscribe on Apple Podcast when you see this pop up. Just hit the subscribe button, and you'll get all these stories for your fee. Otherwise, you just get a little bit of a taste at the beginning of the show for free, and then we usually cut things off. So, other than that, you also want to go to thedirtysheets.com if you have Android, and you could subscribe on there to hear the whole show. I'm Cav Manning. As usual, I am here, and you could find all my nonsense at LingusMafia on X, including where you can vote for the final round of Miss Lingus, and it'll be cut off on Monday. So just go there and check out the pinned tweet. You can vote. I am along with your number one source for all of your wrestling news. That is the Billy Goat, because he's the greatest of all time when it comes to news. You heard what I said. That's Billy Body.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's one of those situations where I don't know how you measure that, but the guy that's supposed to be the greatest of all time is falling apart by the week. And it's not even news now. It's stuff like saying that Will Ospreay's promo may go on to be already at this point. It's not too early to say it might be the best promo of the year. Things like that, where you may as well wear a sign on your head to say that you are on the payroll of AEW at this point. It's just unbelievable. Like, it's almost like the undoing of a career, a respectable career for that guy.
Well, what I want to do right here is I'm going to insert where we have Meltzer saying this. So you're going to have to listen back, Billy, because I already played this on my show, and you're going to enjoy this very much. So here is Mr. Meltzer talking about Ospreay's promo.
Last night's promo, last night's promo with Will Ospreay was just, to put it this way, it was just out of this world. And put it this way, he's got so much charisma. He's so charisma-y, and I don't want to say he's better than The Rock, but but he is times 20, and I mean, I know we're in March, but I put it this way, it just has to be promo of the year, and nobody knows more than me when it comes to nobody knows more than me when it comes to when it comes to talking.
So yes, that was the Iggy that was going around this time that this is promo's the greatest thing ever, and Jesus Christ. The Rock promo last Friday was so scary fucking good. And I'm immune to shit at this point. Like, it takes a bit nowadays to really get me fucking going, because I'm like, whatever. It was
impotent.
Yeah, I need a little bit of Blue Chew when it comes to some of these things that is on TV. So when certain things happen, like, I go, wow, you could really see the fucking difference between, as we say, the good old days and now. And the level of promo, the level of performer, not even just the in-ring work or whatever, who cares? I'm not sitting there jerking off needing 5-star matches unless it's pay-per-views. Then you could give me a good match. I don't need great fucking matches on weekly TV, because who cares? But that fucking promo that Rock did, his Rock concert that you actually reported that there was going to be before the show happened. And I wasn't expecting much. I'm like, oh, Rock goes out there, wants to suck himself off that he could sing a little bit or something like that. And the shit that he fucking said, and he was going to he had a belt for Cody's mom. And I mean, it was frighteningly fucking good. And it just showed me the different levels of, nowadays. And I mean, I might be an old man saying, oh, back in my day, it was better and this and that. But I don't know how you look at that promo and not see like a night and day, like, holy shit, look how fucking unbelievable that was.
Yeah, I think there's an element of the back in my old day stuff, but at the end of the day, what they did back then was sell pay-per-view. And ultimately, this is still a sales business. Now, when the old folk were saying back in my day, they were selling something else, which was tickets, but it wasn't on a national level. It was regional, and anybody post 1983 in the WWE had a different job. It wasn't to sell regional tickets. It was to get a worldwide audience to tune into your TV show whilst also still selling regional tickets. It was very different. It became more of a widespread job to appease a more widespread audience. So it became more difficult. So the back in my day stuff doesn't really work in that sense. And we have reached somewhat of a lull, I think, in terms of how certain things can evolve. Now, obviously, when it comes to technology with iPhone, CGI, all of that stuff, we have evolved, and we continue to evolve. But certain things they can't do anymore. Like they say in Seinfeld, like when George says, "Toilet paper hasn't changed in my lifetime." Like that's a fact. But so we're in this situation where entertainment hasn't really changed. Like now, the only thing that we do see where it may have changed is The Rock isn't woke enough for some people, because we have entered these woke times where the cross-dresser stuff is offensive and this is offensive. And well, we know that these people should go and hang themselves. So we can't use them as any point of reference or give them any relevance or significance, because everything woke turns to shit, as quoted by my great mentor, Donald Trump. So we don't really take that seriously either. So if we're talking about real people, real men, normal people with lives who don't fucking endorse like rainbow flags and Black Lives fists and don't know what men and women are and think that all abortions should be given to anybody that wants them, all that shit. We're looking at normal people. Things haven't really changed for normal people in terms of what entertains you. So that whole back in my day stuff doesn't apply here, because The Rock is simply better than those guys were. The same way that when certain actors come on screen, when you're looking at guys from the 80s, your Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Wesley Snipes, all of these guys, you can look at them and say, oh, hey, they were better. They were better action heroes than the guys that are there now. And there would be an argument for that. I don't think it would be as strong as pro wrestling, because I still believe that when you look at certain guys, in the Avengers and whatnot, everybody gets in shape. Everybody was in shape in the 80s. Everybody was in shape in the 90s. Everybody's in shape in 2000. That's been a consistent thing. Wrestling has lost its consistency, where the people who are pushed on television as your stars now no longer even need to follow the fundamentals of what wrestling should be. The fundamentals of a top level wrestler should be somebody who turns heads in the airport, and normal men are inferior to them. That was the number one go-to for the wrestlers. When wrestling was coming through at its peak, every single one of them was superior to normal men. That's why we looked up to them. That's why we admired them. That's why we thought, oh my God, like these guys are beating the shit out of each other, and they would take a normal man and they would fucking squeeze his head off his shoulders. That was what worked. So when he's out there and he is looking the way that he looks, whilst you have guys like Rollins and Cody on the other side who look like me, and are as big as me, which makes no, and I'm not a fucking small person, but I need to look up to these wrestlers in order to watch it. If I'm going to be 6 foot or 6'1", they need to be 6'5". Yeah. If I'm going to be 180 pounds, they need to be 280 pounds. That's what I need to see. So The Rock not only does that, and then he goes out there and talks for a 30-minute segment, which you don't even realize is 30 minutes because it entertains you more than anything that Rollins can do while he's singing and dancing and cackling like a fucking idiot, dressed like exactly like what they say. So in every facet of what I believe is important, fuck the in-ring, fuck it, because it doesn't sell any tickets.
No.
Like, when you get there, you need to be able to go. And The Rock cannot be in a situation where he undoes this work and he pulls a fucking hamstring or a quad or some shit like that 5 minutes into WrestleMania. If he does that, then everybody will turn around and say, oh, there you go. You can talk as much as you want and you can look as good as you like, but if you can't go, it doesn't matter. And then these people, these little fucking babies, they will have a point, right? But if he gets through the match in a competent fashion, then everything he's doing here puts all of these guys to shame.
Well,
because the business hasn't changed enough. There hasn't been enough evolution where you could turn around and say, entertainment is no longer entertainment.
Like what was said in the 90s era, late 90s and stuff, and I didn't 100% agree with it because I thought it was a kind of a shitty thing to say because it kind of shits on people who pay money. But Hogan used to always say, we already got their money. So like when you say, well, Rock, if he fucks himself up immediately in the match, on one hand, what's it matter? The main thing was you talk them into the building. Isn't that what like Cornette says? And that's what JR says. You talk them into the building. It's all the pre-stuff, which I enjoy most on wrestling shows is the promos because it furthers storylines. And then it's the pay-per-view that I'm looking forward to a decent match. Of course, I mean, if Rock fucking, kills himself in the first fucking second of the match, yes, it is shit. But at the same time, the buildup was fantastic and then it shits the bed. But it's the lead-in and the talking them into the building is what gets you there in the first place. And like you said, get through the match respectably and, not be a disaster and falling down and this and that. And I think certain people, it's like they have a level of athleticism to where even if they're not at their peak or even close, they could patch together something when they're at that level. A person that's never done it then wouldn't be able to, obviously, like Gilbert can't be doing this or something. But if you're on that much higher level, even your so-so level is acceptable to get through it. But I enjoy talk me in, get me excited because of a storyline. I'm always about the storyline, not like AEW has a big thing about, we're about having great matches. We need to have great matches. The other day, they have this Rampage right after, it's hilarious. It's right after Dynamite because March Madness is on, so they can't have other shows. So they go right into a Dynamite, into Rampage. And then we have fucking Rocky Romero versus fucking, I don't even know who the fuck it was. I think it was a name on the other side. But it was like, what? Oh, it was against Take a Shitta. And they fucking went for 20-some fucking minutes. And I'm like, who cares? I don't care. If they had some big fucking rivalry or something leading into, okay, well, maybe now I'm interested to see how this fucking ends up. Just a match to have a match and go, let's have a fucking 12-star match when I don't believe almost that there can be a fucking 5-star match if there is nothing invested into the match that makes you fucking care. And
no, that's why we create our own star system. Take that into consideration.
100% right. 100% right. Your star system is the correct way to do it because it factors in the build. And it's shit like this. Like I got a friend who's, we call him All Elite Williams because he jerks off to fucking all this. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And he goes, no, it was a good match. And they did this and he hurt his shoulder. So next week Swerve will beat him because of the shoulder injury. And I'm like, no, I don't care. You don't give me a 50-minute fucking match with somebody that has nothing fucking going on. I don't care about this person. You never see the motherfucker. And now he's got to have a great fucking match with somebody who's supposed to be very good. So if he
And-
fucking went 20
and
some
that's the
minutes with
thing.
him, he should lose in 4 seconds to Swerve.
And these are the people who have come out this week out of the woodwork and are turning around and saying, if I want to watch a wrestling show, because I'm a wrestling fan, I will watch AEW, because there's now constant minutes being counted of on WWE shows. I believe even SmackDown one of the weeks clocked in at 36 minutes of actual wrestling or something along those lines that they were complaining about. And it's like, the wrestling is not a literal term. When you're looking at the term of, when wrestling is in the title of both AEW and the WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, but the overall label that both fall under, they're both categorized as professional wrestling. Professional wrestling involves the promo and the build of the matches. There are various aspects, whether it be
The showmanship.
segments or matches or backstage or attacks, where you have angles are included, promos are included, and matches are included within that. For me, it's a third or even maybe a quarter of what makes up professional wrestling.
Yes.
The wrestling part is being taken too literally by these people, and to be honest, it's the least interesting part. But then they'll turn around and go, "Oh, you're an idiot. You don't like the wrestling of wrestling. Why do you watch wrestling if you don't like the wrestling?" It's like, you fucking moron. It's just a word
It's part.
in the title. Yeah, but around right after the wrestling comes the entertainment, and before the wrestling becomes the world, because you're trying to entertain the fucking world, not a bunch of basement dorks which don't make up for the world. Like, they don't account for the world and what the world is thinking, for damn sure. In fact, it's probably the opposite. So there's a lot of factors that go into professional wrestling, and The Rock is an incredible professional wrestler. And as I said, they'll continue to bash you over the head with the word wrestler, because they'll take it literally as the wrestling, which is why I think it's important to not tear a quad or a calf, because it'll give these fucking cucks the ammunition to come back at you later on and say, oh, he can't fucking wrestle, he can't do the most important part. Well, fuck you, because that didn't fucking sell any fucking tickets, and it didn't pull any numbers.
Yeah, you
And
weren't looking forward to the
SmackDown
Rock match. You were looking forward to Rock being there. I don't know if I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to see what kind of a 5-star match he puts on.
No, and the Attitude Era ushered in a brand new style of match by itself, which was the brawling style, which catered to Stone Cold Steve Austin, who couldn't have done another style because of his neck. So that changed, and every main eventer that came up and changed. And the main event style at the peak of wrestling all time was a brawling style where none of this shit happened. And quite frankly, the stuff that the alternative fan wants to see, when I see Daniel Bryan and some Japanese dork, like whatever, I don't know what his name was the other week, sitting down with their legs crossed, in a yoga position, slapping each other like that, to me, that don't do it for me either. So if you could turn around and go, oh, every Stone Cold Steve Austin match sucked. Yeah, every fucking Japanese match sucks. Okada sucks. Daniel Bryan now sucks. Will Ospreay doesn't know how to psychologically plan out a wrestling match. If he knew what he was actually doing out there, he may be the best wrestler in the world. Because if he could actually choreograph those stunts into the right places for them to actually make sense, then Will Ospreay would be good. But the current way that Will Ospreay wrestles, for me, isn't even in the top 10. So Ospreay and Bryan is going to be the absolute shit show and epitome of what I don't want to see in a pro wrestling match. And these other idiots will turn around and go, oh, Steve Austin matches sucked and the Attitude Era sucked and all the matches were the same. Yeah, they were. They were the same. They were successful. They got the crowd invested in them. They were cheering their fucking asses off.
How about Austin and Owens that at Mania? That was fucking great.
What crowd were in?
Fucking, everyone was into it because it was fucking Austin, and it wasn't even a real fucking match, but good Lord, everyone fucking lost their fucking minds from it because it's Austin.
Well, Hulk Hogan was injured going into the match with The Rock. He was barely mobile, and The Rock had to get him through it. And nobody fucking noticed that they did nothing. If you watch that match on mute, Hogan and The Rock from WrestleMania 18, they do absolutely nothing. Which
it's very much Andre Hogan did fucking zero too.
They did, but they didn't have the crowd into it the way that WrestleMania 18 did, Hogan and The Rock. So that's a testament to what they can do. The whole fucking point of this is to get as over as much as you can. The point of fucking wrestling for each individual wrestler is to get over, sell tickets, sell merchandise, and take as little risk as possible. Well, let me tell you the prototype wrestling match for that. It's called WrestleMania 18. It's Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, where they fucking done a ton of fucking pay-per-view buys. Hulk Hogan sold a ton of merchandise, so they had to fucking turn him babyface. They got an unbelievable reaction. They did nothing. It wasn't humanly possible to get injured in that match because nobody did anything. Yet everybody talks about it as the greatest match, one of the greatest matches ever. That is fucking pro wrestling. That is the goal that everybody has when they set out to do this. It's not to do what the others do on the other show, which is to take as many risks as possible, like that fucking dickhead Darby Allin, who almost kills himself every time he goes out there. That is the opposite. Sell no tickets, sell no merch, almost die, and it's forgotten about 2 weeks later. Let's take an example. The Rock and Hulk Hogan happened 22 years ago, and Darby Allin tried to commit suicide through glass about 2 weeks ago.
I did enjoy looking at it.
Remembered more? Yeah, but what sticks out in your mind?
Oh, well,
more?
sure. I mean, that
what,
one's...
what do you think's going to be? What do you think's going to last longer?
Well, yeah, because they'll say, remember that there was a company where a guy fell through glass? What was the name of that company? That's what will fucking happen eventually with that. And it goes to also show you.
I mean, he would have to literally die from that for it to be be more memorable than Hulk Hogan and The Rock. It'd be like, oh, remember that guy that died?
And I don't even still think it would be as memorable. It wouldn't be as memorable because you would be like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Killed himself. So it wouldn't even be.
Yeah,
It'd
exactly.
be, it wouldn't be, oh my God, look at this. It would be the guy fucking is a moron for doing something. You know, when we talk about like storylines and that's what makes a match better and everything like that, I look at like this Mania card, right? And if you take out obviously the main events of both nights, without storylines, if you just say, well, no, it's about the fucking wrestling match. It's only this. It's, who cares about a promo? Put that whole entire card on a fucking Raw in July, and you wouldn't give a fuck about any of these matches. You'd go, sure, it's a fine, all right, well, Rhea and Becky, but it's nothing, out of the ordinary. Like, I mean, the girls fight each other. They all intermix. They all fight each other eventually. So you wouldn't care. It'd be like, all right, whatever, it's on TV. But that it is Mania and that you have a story leading into anything is what's going to make you watch these fucking matches and care about the fucking match. Much like I say, if this fucking Rocky Romero fought 69 after 3 months of a fucking blood feud, I would want to see a 20 fucking minute match and be invested in, I want to see what the fuck happens. That's the difference. I want to see at Mania, I don't mind all these matches being 30 minutes, whatever the fuck they are, because it's it's the payoff. It's time. Now we get the fucking showdowns at the fucking end, and you want to watch that. I don't want to see a fucking 50-minute match on goddamn Raw. Like, I mean, Sammy and Gunther could have been on Raw in July, and you would never think twice about it. You go, okay, well, Gunther wins again. But it's at Mania, and now there's a story. He's fighting his way to get in, this and that. And I mean, I don't really give a fuck to tell you the truth about that match either, because I hate the fact that Sammy would win this. Because I think it's a horrible payoff if he's the one who fucking breaks the fucking streak here. But it means more because you're actually having something go on.
Well, as I said to you, like that whole back in my day thing, I would obviously try and make an excuse for it because this would be something that parents would have said to us when it comes to music and whatnot. Oh, my music was better. Like back in my day, like the athletes, these athletes were better. Yeah, that's all well and good. But actually, like, I will defend the fact that that statement isn't as relevant as it once was. And I use I use the examples of the fact that we created things back in previous eras that we desperately needed. The world would be very different without television. Somebody needed to create the television. Somebody needed to create the telephone. Somebody needed to create a way to fly. Somebody needed to create cars. These significant inventions now are few and far between. Like, we've had the iPhone, which has been the big one, and we've had the internet. If your TV gets bigger, doesn't really make that much difference. If your console gets better, doesn't really make that much difference. We are now just doing shit for the sake of doing shit. Like, and with movies getting better, or getting more, realistic and more special effects, people actually complain about that. We've got to a point where people turn around and go, "Oh, that was too much CGI," and "Oh, it's just that film was just special effects." We get to the point where there's technology used in sports, and people complain and went, "Oh, I preferred it better when I didn't know what a catch was, and we didn't review it 20
when there was
times
no
with this
score on the
technology."
screen and you didn't know what the fucking score was until somebody told you.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's things like that which has obviously improved it. But
Yeah.
when we look at the fact that, we both follow two sports. My main one's soccer. Yours is the NFL. I always like the NFL, of course. But, we could both agree that the overuse of video replays and the over-analysis of the rules and the complication of the rules, sometimes it's too much effort that's gone into making things better, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work sometimes. Sometimes you can make TVs too big. You can make pictures like you could do too much with the picture. Like, for example, I don't like this effect that they use on cameras where you're watching sports, where it looks like players are coming out of the screen, where they sort of blur the background.
Yeah, that is a weird fucking effect. WWE was doing that for a while, where the background was blurred, where they were walking toward the camera.
I don't like that shit. So a lot of stuff out there, which is seen as improvements, is subjective. Making a television colored and making phones better so that you could not just use them in your house and walk around with them, and inventing the internet, that's not subjective. Wrestling, I believe, falls into the category of the sports where you change the rules and you're trying to make it better and you're trying to use all this technology. Like that's where wrestling's at. Wrestling hasn't got any better in the last 30 years. It needed to improve from
it's gotten faker.
This is what I mean, exactly. So the slow plodding style of it was like, oh, Bruno Sammartino is quite slow and they don't have much personality. And Hulk Hogan, he probably has too much personality, and the Warrior has too much personality, and maybe this is too wacky now. As children started to get older, they started to think, yeah, this isn't really working for me anymore. Because when they tried to make Diesel Hulk Hogan and went, oh, he can't train and take his prayers and say his prayers and take his vitamins anymore, because he basically got outed for taking steroids. So we'll just have Diesel out here being the smiling, happy, role model. And it didn't work. Diesel was a complete failure. So that's when Stone Cold Steve Austin came in, and when they decided to turn around and say, oh, actually, these children who liked Hulk Hogan are now 14, 15 years old, and Steve Austin, the Steve Austin thing is what they want. So there was a lot of evolution then and a lot of changes that worked. We needed to change from Bruno because it was all very slow and bland. We then went into the big effects of Hulk Hogan. That went boring. And then we found something that appeased teenagers, and it mixed in with the music at the time with Eminem, Limp Bizkit, getting your fucking clothes from Hot Topic. That was the fucking Attitude Era. So that was that. And then from there on, I don't think wrestling managed to stay with it. I don't think wrestling stayed alongside pop culture, and I don't believe it has done. The Rock is pop culture, and people should fucking appreciate the fact that he's actually here, and we're getting this Attitude Era level performer out here who's doing his shtick from those times, but it's not dated in these times, because in these times, this style of wrestling which looks faker, this booking which is woker, and these superstars which are thinner and weaker looking with worse promo skills, that doesn't work for me. So yeah, I think it's very clear The Rock is showing you how the Rocket being out there is exposing how this business hasn't got any better in 30 years. That's what I think it tells you.
Well, like I'm saying, like with the faker now and stuff, and since, you know, everything was obviously said, you know, ages ago that, you know, this is entertainment, this is a choreographed thing. Like, I remember back in the day watching it with my father, and we're talking, you know, early 90s, Akeem.
And let me just interrupt you. Well, when you say faker, I also put into that category that we fucking put Dominic's wedding on Twitter. When he did a storyline.
breaking shit. Yeah.
I think that's bullshit too, but carry on.
So, like, I would watch with my father, who wasn't some big wrestling fan. He got me to watch it, though, in the first place, and he said he created a fucking monster by doing that. But he would, you know, he would make fun while he watched, which would drive me crazy because I was in love with it, you know, and you're like, you don't want anybody going, this is some bullshit. You're like, fuck off, you know? So, like, I remember Greg the Hammer Valentine.
My dad did that too.
Oh, it's horrible.
He said everybody's
so
fake
phony.
except this the only guy that looks. He used to say, I told Bret Hart this. I said my dad hated wrestling. He said the only one who knows how to do it is you.
Wow, there's a good compliment.
And Bret Hart said to me, he goes, "Well, your dad was right."
So, like, Hammer would hit the ropes. You know how he would hit the ropes, wind up that arm, and drop the fucking elbow? And Akeem would hit the fucking ropes, get to the guy, jump, and splash him, right? And my father would always say, he's like, why are you hitting the fucking ropes if you end up stopping and then jumping and splashing or stopping and dropping your elbow? And I was always like, it's a fucking show. It's just, you know, it's more, you know, shit to look at. It's just something, you know, razzmatazz, right? And I think about it now, and I'm like, oh my God, if he were to see the fucking gymnastics, then it would be like, why the fuck are they doing a 450 fucking splash? That is not doing anything other than if you were to just fall off the top rope and splash somebody, right? It's like, why are you spinning in the fucking air, gonna kill yourself?
It's just even some of that stuff with. Well, I watched Eddie Kingston on Daniel Bryan on the pay-per-view, and it was some of the most embarrassing stuff with the slaps and they were elbowing each other from like 2 inches out, and they were like, and then the other guy took a turn to, listen, if you're in a fight, if you elbow someone in the chin, like that's not going to be like an exchange. If you land the first shot with your elbow to their chin, they get knocked out.
Yeah,
like,
basically.
It was so bad. But they were trading elbows.
They like to mutilate themselves because, like, you see Brian when he was doing his meditation thing afterwards, and his neck looked like fucking chopped meat. It's like they get off on that shit. And how about, did you see over the fucking last weekend that Moxley got his ass fucking choked out by a guy who worked at fucking Chili's?
Yeah, I've been watching that anyway.
That's unfucking believable. I mean, this is the kind of shit they would have gotten fired back in the day because he's so into all this fucking death jujitsu fucking bullshit, right? So when you're in this fucking fake world, you start to believe your own hype because you win all the time. And so you go, okay, well, now I'm going to really try this. And the people who make fun of Punk because he got choked out by UFC guys, Punk fucking lost to. And God bless you for having the fucking balls to even go in there. I sure as fuck wouldn't. You get punched in the face. And then Moxley goes to a fucking swap meet and gets fucking tapped out.
Punk, this is the thing that people don't understand about UFC, which stands for Ultimate Fighting Championship, by the way. And there are other organizations. And when you are on top of the other organizations, like once you you do well in Invicta or Bellator or wherever else, like
you move up to the majors.
They're looking to sign. Yeah, you go up to the top company.
Yeah.
Everything else is
it's like WWE. That's the top company.
Yeah. It's like comparing the AFL, XFL to the NFL, or college. So this is the thing. Once you get there, like that's the top fighters in the world. Now Punk certainly wasn't there, but I do believe that Punk could have won fights in a smaller MMA company.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that somebody came up to the UFC, like Michael Jackson, and got his UFC contract, and Punk went to a decision with him and lost clearly.
Yeah, different
That
Michael
tells
Jackson.
me, right?
Yeah.
That tells me that 90% of the locker room, unless it's somebody who has a significant size advantage or they're a specialized boxer or whatever, I believe that CM Punk could beat the shit out of him. Like, I believe that Punk against Moxley in a fight would not be close.
Yeah, probably.
Like, I believe Punk would put him to sleep very quickly. So, whatever you want to turn around and say, there are only a handful of people with his experience that I believe could beat up CM Punk. In WWE, I would say it would be, if Riddle was there, I would say Riddle.
Yeah.
I would say Bobby Lashley from his experience. And I would say Brock Lesnar, obviously.
Yeah, and Brock was the freak that walked into fucking UFC and fucking won their title. Fucking crazy.
That's the thing. When you're looking at someone like Seth Rollins in a real fight against CM Punk, it wouldn't be close. I'm even reluctant to say that someone with a size advantage like Drew.
That's what I was thinking too. Maybe Drew could hold him down a little bit with the power, right? Weight difference, big weight difference.
But what about the striking?
I think if Drew catches you, you're in big trouble. I don't see Punk being a fucking like stinging and like a bee floating around and popping him, you know? I see if Drew charges him and gets him. But I mean, he can put his head down and get fucking choked. We've seen that kind of shit before. He puts his head down and charges him. He's choked out. He's done. I would still think, I mean, I don't know if Drew's, a lover, not a fighter. I don't know. I don't know if he's got a chin. Who the fuck knows?
What about
just because he's ripped?
In a real fight, Finn Balor versus Ronda Rousey.
Oh, that's a very good question. The part of me just thinks if he connects with a punch, it's over. That kind of shit. It's like he has the puncher's chance. Like if she gets him wrapped up. Can she
overpower him? But can she overpower him to wrap him up? Can she get his arm?
I think if she gets his arm in the right way, he's dead. Because she was like Olympics and shit. And, with like jujitsu, stuff like that. So I think a lot of leverage. I think his problem would be is if he tried to go into it grappling. I think he would have to really stay away and pick a spot and swing. Like, find his opening and swing. Because I don't think he is, like, twisting her up and all that kind of shit. I think she knows a lot of shit. And I think Haku beats all of them, even at his age right now. If you want to hear the rest of the show, including who could be possibly bumping Bray Wyatt from the Hall of Fame this year, it's going to shock you. If you want to know about Jade and Sasha's deal, The Rock's influence on certain things that are going on right now, and possibly where Mania might be next year, please tell me it's not so. You want to either subscribe on Apple Podcasts, just click the subscribe button if you're listening on Apple. And if you are Android, go to thedirtysheets.com and subscribe there. Plenty more show. You already listened to 30-some minutes. There's another hour to go. So jump on over. See you over there.